give a presentation to provide more information to the committee about the work of Food Vale, and Joe Bynan as well from my team, who also works very closely with Louise and Rhiannon. So I'm just going to do a brief introduction to the report before handing over to Louise. So part of my role and my team within the council is to support the work of the Public Services Board, which has primarily reported to the Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee as the designated committee for the Public Services Board. When we took our annual report to that scrutiny committee last year, it was recommended that some of the different work streams that the PSB is involved in are reported to different scrutiny committees of the council for their interest, and that's why we've brought the work of the Food Vale Partnership to this committee today. As I say, the Food Vale Partnership has a number of different partners involved in that, which Louise will go into more detail of, and sits under the Public Services Board itself. The Public Services Board, as it sets out within this report, is a statutory partnership, and it's set up under the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, and it involves a number of partners, including the Council, the Health Board, Police, Natural Resources, Wales Fire, the third sector, and some other local partners as well, including a representative of the town and community councils. There are a number of requirements on the Public Services Board. We have to produce a wellbeing plan, and we produced our current plan last June, and we have to undertake a wellbeing assessment to inform that plan as well as producing the annual report. And our next annual report will be produced in the next couple of months and published. Within the report itself, we've brought two recommendations to the committee. Firstly, that members note the work of Food Vale and the progress that's being made in developing work around the new food strategy. And if there are any comments, we can take those back into the Public Services Board via myself through the Director of Corporate Resources, but also in terms of whether the committee would be interested in receiving further updates specifically on the work of the Food Vale Partnership as well. So as I say, the PSB was set up under the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. And for those members who may not be as familiar with the work of the Public Services Board, the partnership has to assess the state of economic, social, environment and cultural wellbeing in the local area, has to set objectives which are detailed within our wellbeing plan, and then we have to set out how we're going to take those steps to meet those objectives. There are currently 3 wellbeing objectives for the Public Services Board: a more resilient and greener Vale, a more active and healthier Vale, and a more equitable and connected Vale. And the work of Food Vale very much contributes to all of those objectives, which kind of reflects the integrated approach that we've tried to take forward. The PSB has also identified 3 priority work streams where we particularly believe that value can be added, and they're about responding to the climate and nature emergencies, working with people who live in our most deprived areas, and becoming an age-friendly Vale. And again, there will be elements of the work of Food Vale that helps us deliver those priorities. So that's just really to give a bit of context to the Public Services Board and why we've brought the report to the committee this evening. I'm now going to hand over to Louise, who will take members through a presentation providing more detail about the work of Food Vale, which builds on the paragraphs within the covering report from 1.7 onwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here today. As Helen said, I'm Louise. I coordinate Food Vale, which is the Vale of Glamorgan's Sustainable Food Partnership. I'm hosted within Cardiff and Vale University Health Board Public Health Team. And there's a few things I'm going to go through with you today. I wanted to give a bit of an overview about what Food Vale is, give a few examples of the type of work that we do here in the Vale of Glamorgan, and then touch on the Vale food strategy that we're currently developing. So first of all, looking at what Food Vale is. Food Vale is a partnership of dedicated individuals, community groups, organisations and businesses working together with the aim of building a thriving, healthy and sustainable food system in the Vale. It first started back in circa 2017 when colleagues within the public health team first brought together key stakeholders to start having some discussions around healthy and sustainable food in the Vale of Glamorgan. And the reason the public health team have invested in this work is because they very much acknowledge the role that the food system plays in tackling diet-related ill health, such as obesity and diabetes, and the increasing health inequalities that we are seeing at present. Since 2017, we've formed a steering group with some of the organisations of the logos you can see on screen now, and have done a lot of other work, which I'll go through in a minute. I also just wanted to mention that we're part of a broader programme called Sustainable Food Places, which brings together food partnerships across the whole of the UK who are all taking a place-based and systems approach to tackling kind of the food issues in their specific areas. Back in 2022, we were awarded the Bronze Sustainable Food Places Award in recognition of the progress that the Vale of Glamorgan has made in terms of moving towards more healthy and sustainable food. And the programme also offers this framework of 6 key issues that you can see on the screen, which I often use to just kind of show the breadth of different issues that we mean when we're talking about food systems. So it's everything from kind of food governance and strategy, good food movement, healthy food for all, which really underpins everything that we're doing, the sustainable food economy, looking at catering and procurement, and food for the planet, so looking at how it's related to some of those wider issues around the climate and nature emergency. So as you can see, when it comes to food systems, there is a real range of work that we're doing. And so what I want to do now is share a few examples of the work that we're doing in the Vale to demonstrate how we're putting it into practice. The first of these, and an issue that I know will be close to the hearts of many people in this meeting today, is tackling food insecurity. And whilst the Vale of Glamorgan might be considered as overall quite an affluent county, we know that there are real pockets of deprivation in the Vale and people really struggling to feed themselves. In 2020, we began the work with the Llantyt Food Project, which brought together key partners together to assess the need for intervention in Llantyt Major. And after a period of research and engagement, we co-developed a plan of action to improve access to food locally, including things like an advice hub to attach to the existing food pantry, better signposting and information, and extending the food pantry to St Athan as well. The Llantyt Food Project really demonstrates the partnership and systems approach that underpins our work, and something that we've now sought to expand to the rest of the Vale through our ongoing food insecurity research and engagement work. Thanks to funding from the Welsh Government, we've been able to hire a new project officer who's been carrying out this research and engagement work. And we formed a Vale Food Insecurity Working Group to start co-developing a plan of action for taking the work that we've done in Llantyt Major to the rest of the Vale as well. The next example I wanted to cover, and one that is notoriously difficult area to work in, but has huge potential to kind of shift the dial on the health of our local populations when we consider all of the food that goes out through schools and hospitals and care homes, is our procurement work as well. So we've hosted a Cardiff and Vale Healthy and Sustainable Food Procurement Working Group with representatives from key public sector organisations across Cardiff and the Vale. And as part of that, we've developed a guidance document highlighting some of the key opportunities and challenges, and produced 3 case study videos showcasing examples of good work locally, including one focusing on Big Fresh Catering Company and some of the really great stuff they've done to look at more local suppliers for the food that they provide through schools in the Vale. A third example of our work, which follows on nicely from the last one, is our work with food in schools. Now, education around health and nutrition is something that really comes up time and time again for us in this work, and something that everybody seems to agree on is a real key priority for us. And some of the examples of ways that we've worked with schools in the past are things such as distributing grants to schools in the Vale for delivering cooking and growing activities, signposting schools to available support and resources for these activities through our Food in Schools webpage. And the Vale of Glamorgan this year is for the first time participating in a Welsh Veg in Schools project coordinated by Food Sense Wales, which aims to get more organically produced vegetables into primary school meals across Wales. We've got 2 local producers in the Vale who are feeding into that project, and that produce will be going onto school dinner plates, which I think is fantastic. The final example of our work that I wanted to just touch on was our work with the Vale Food Trail, which is really part of our efforts to support the local food economy. So we've been collaborating with Vale of Glamorgan Council, Visit the Vale and Cowine to deliver an annual Vale Food Trail designed to bring people closer to businesses making, serving and selling food that is good for people, place and planet. Last year was the first year that we delivered this, and over 500 people visited activities led by over 30 businesses. This year, we still got the numbers counting because it's only finished last week, but we've had 46 activities delivered by over 31 businesses and community organisations across the 10 days. So that's a really nice piece of more celebratory work as well that we're working on. So I'd like to spend the next couple of minutes talking a bit about the Vale food strategy. Vale has been leading on the development of this to guide action on a wide range of topics to build a healthy and sustainable local food system in the Vale. I think in general, Vale of Glamorgan has got a really strong track record when it comes to food, whether it's kind of concerning the rollout of universal free school meals, whether it's concerning the progress that we've made on local procurement with Big Fresh, or it's the kind of the commitments that have been made around food in the existing strategies and plans already in the Vale. But food is really increasingly being recognised as a powerful driver for change more widely. Two examples of this, quite recent examples, are in the Wales Net Zero 2035 Challenge Group, which some of you might be familiar with. And their first challenge area is how can Wales feed itself by 2035, so really looking at the food security piece. And more recently, in November of last year, the Future Generation Commissioner's strategy, Cymru Can, identified the food system as their first area of focus, so really looking at how we can take advantage of some of the opportunities around agroecological farming, local supply chains for schools and hospitals, and community food initiatives. The first step in the process of developing the food strategy has been forming the scope of it, and we've been very lucky to work with Natural Resources Wales's Futures Thinking team, who've been able to help facilitate some sessions with the Food Vale steering group. And after a few of these sessions, we kind of landed on this as the scope, which is the future of food and farming in the Vale of Glamorgan over the next 100 years. For citizens, community group organisations, schools and businesses in the Vale of Glamorgan, so i.e. everyone, to inform a 6-year food strategy for the Vale of Glamorgan. And just to kind of just mention a bit behind this, so the reason that we framed it within a 100-year kind of vision is that we really want to reflect being ambitious and building it into the idea of thinking about the needs of future generations as well as the need of present generations. We want it to include everyone because we want it to be as inclusive as possible. And we've gone for a 6-year food strategy so that it can align with a lot of the other strategies that are currently either in development or have already been published in the Vale. This next stage for us has been conducting some engagement. So we've had some really great engagement using the 3 Horizons framework, which some of you might be familiar with. And it's a really nice way of structuring discussions around quite complex issues. So we've had 3 events, including one aimed specifically at young people and another, which is upcoming next week, aimed at local food producers and farmers. And for those of you who aren't aware of the 3 Horizon framework, it's kind of structured around these three horizons of what is wrong with the current system, the vision for the future, and how will we get there. And I won't go through the kind of the post-its on the slides here, but you might notice that the common themes throughout all of these, health is very much at the fore as well. So very much something that is on many people's minds. We're now at the point where we're drafting the goals, outcomes, and actions for the strategy. So what you see on screen at the moment is our 3 goals that we've kind of ended up at, which are fair and healthy. Everyone in the Vale can access food that supports their health and well-being. The circular food economy, so food is made and consumed in a way that minimises our use of the world's resources, improves food security, cuts waste, and tackles the climate and nature emergency. And community resilience. So the piece around communities having the skills and tools they need to build a resilient food culture. We have drafted the outcomes as well, but I didn't think there would be necessarily time to go through it with a fine-tooth comb sort of thing. But I am more than happy to share these after this through Helen's team as well. But looking forward now, we're kind of in the process of developing the actions, which will then be going out for consultation and approval from key partners, and then on to launching the finalised Vale Food strategy later this year. And that is my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll hand back over to the chair.
Thank you, Louise. You can see how passionate you are about it. Excellent presentation. Thank you. Who's next? Rhiannon?
Thank you, Chair. No, Louise covered the points across the team, so I think really if there's questions, then we're happy to answer them, if that's okay.
Thank you very much. I thought it was an excellent presentation, full of information, which is what we needed. Do we have any questions from anybody? Councillor Susan Lloyd-Selby.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Louise and Helen. It's good to see you again. Louise, as you know, I spoke at the Food Horizons event last November and was impressed and encouraged by the energy and the vision in the room. So it's good to hear that progress is still being made in terms of finalising the food strategy. So just one question really, and that's how is the impact of the work that's being done being measured in terms of the PSB's wellbeing objectives? Excuse me, tail end of a cold. Yeah, so how are you actually able to measure the impact that the work is having in relation to those objectives and contributing to those objectives? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lloyd-Selby, and it was really lovely to have you at the engagement event back last November. It's a really important question in terms of, you know, how we are tracking progress, and I think with a lot of this work, it's quite difficult. We're having to kind of rethink the way that progress is measured in a lot of ways, because it's very long-term work, and we're trying to buck the system in terms of some of that shorter-term thinking. But we're certainly able to track some of the data around various things around obesity levels in the Vale of Glamorgan, things around Healthy Start voucher uptake, and in terms of linking in with the PSB. I think a lot of our engagement levels through the Food Vale work is something that we're keeping a track of as well.
Does that answer your question, Sue? Do you have another one?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, only to say, I know one of the things. I mean, thank you, Louise. I absolutely appreciate the long-term aspect of the work. Only to say, in terms of the report that's before us tonight, we're asked to consider whether or not we would like future reports in addition to the reporting that we already have in relation to the work of the PSB. Personally, I very much welcome that. You know, this is a Healthy Living Committee. I think this is an absolutely fundamental aspect of that agenda, and I would very much welcome the opportunity to have perhaps annual reports of this particular strand of work, because it's clearly so critical to the residents that we're representing. And it would just be really good to hear about not just the progress that's being made, but any challenges that you're facing, so that we can consider any work that the council can do to further support. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I'm sure we'll get some recommendations soon. Councillor Christine Cave. Christine, are you there? Have you got a question? Hello? Okay.
I'd just like to, sorry, Chair, I'd just like to second that suggestion that we have reports on this matter, because yes, it is a very important matter for this committee. But I'm also interested in the fact that we have the chair of planning sitting next to us. And I wonder what impact we can see future plans for the Vale in terms of planning permission, and planning permission being granted on farmland, for example. I just wonder, what connection is being made and drawn up with planning, so that one arm of the council are not doing one thing and another arm of the council doing another, if you know what you mean.
Neil, do you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you, Christine. In terms of actually planning, it's not at that stage that this matter is being considered. It's being considered in connection with the RLDP, the Replacement Local Development Plan, where the site allocation and the way in which we can address our various needs. As you'll be aware, the RLDP looks at all aspects of the development plan within the Vale in connection with the wider areas as well, and that it is at that level that the consideration really is made of use of things like farmland. Farmland as such is not necessarily, just because it's green, it ain't necessarily good. There are some areas of farmland which are very unproductive or are being used in ways that aren't helping with food growing and so on. They're being used for other purposes. And that the other business purposes, certainly, and that needs to be addressed at the RLTP stage. It's not really at the planning committee stage that we're looking at this. The planning committee reacts to the RLTP and to legislation rather than making policy.
Helen, would you like to come in?
Yes, it was just to add, and Louise may have a couple of comments as well, is that Louise works very closely, as we all do, across the whole of the organisation. So through the work that we do on the Project Zero board, which is focusing on climate change, food is one of the challenges there. So we discuss the issues around food at the same time as we're discussing issues around green infrastructure, planning, waste. So it's kind of part of that conversation as we look at that. There are different people from across the organisation involved in the Food Vale Partnership, including colleagues within the Place Directorate. And there is now a newly appointed Food and Farming Officer within that directorate as well. So that's also helping to strengthen some of the links and understanding across the agenda. So I don't know if Louise wants to pick up on any other points as well, but just wanted to reassure on those points.
Yeah, I just wanted to reassure that we do intend to kind of link in with the RLDP as well, and there's lots of really interesting work that's been done around kind of planning interventions with some of the other food partnerships from that network that I kind of showed the map of earlier. So we'll be looking to them to draw on inspiration as well.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Helen and Louise, for your presentation. It's good to know what's going on, what's happening, and the progress, which takes us to our two recommendations. The first recommendation is that members note the work of Food Vale and the progress partners are making in developing the new local food strategy, and provide comments via the Director of Corporate Resources to the PSB. And I think we have noted that. Can I have somebody to move that, please?
I'll move that.
Thank you. I'll second that, which takes us on to recommendation number 2, which we have already had a proposer and a seconder. The proposer was Susan Lloyd-Selby and the seconder was Councillor Christine Cave. And the recommendation is that members consider if they would like to receive further updates of the work of Food Vale during the year, in addition to the progress reported as part of the PSB annual report reported to Corporate Performance and Resources Scrutiny Committee. So I see no dissent in that, or any dissents? No, then we move both recommendations. And thank you very, very much today for coming in. Really appreciate the information that you imparted. Thank you. Ladies are just leaving the room. Thank you all very much. Which takes us on to agenda item 5, report to the Director of Social Services, which is the annual review of Commission services to adults with a care and support need. And I'd like to bring in Councillor. Yeah, who is bringing this forward? I've got you down, Lance. Ian McMillan. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. The purpose of this report is to outline the annual activity undertaken in relation to Commission services for adults with a care and support need. And it's also to set out the priority actions undertaken during the last financial year and set out some of our priorities for the future. At last year's meeting, we agreed an annual update would continue to be brought to this committee. So the background section of the report just sets out the legislative framework under which adults can make a referral for assessment, and sets out that should an assessment evidence a need for care and support, that it's our commissioning and finance services and their teams, and they're based within the resource management and safeguarding part of the division, who work really closely with the locality social work teams to ensure that the appropriate support provisions are put into place. The report sets out the demand that continues to increase, and that 1.4 of the report sets out the demographical projections that we have in place. And those projections, as committee members will be well aware of, evidence that there will continue to be increased demand projected into the future. You'll note at section 1.5 that the number of citizens receiving care at home has increased throughout the year, and it's increased from 920 to 1,016 citizens during the year. So that's a really significant increase that we've seen during the year. The number of residents in nursing and residential care homes has remained relatively stable, albeit with occupancy levels increasing across both sectors. But you'll also note from the report that requests for respite are continuing to increase. I presented a report to Scrutiny Committee in December. That report was in relation to the market stability report. And in that report, we set out to the committee that the demand for adult services provision is due to increase, and that increase is projected to be across the spectrum of care and support needs. We're now at the point in the year that we're starting to engage again for our annual update for 24-25. Section 1.13 of the report sets out the budgetary challenges that we faced during 23-24. You'll notice that we were significantly overspent, and that overspend was largely due to the increase in care being provided in care at home that I discussed earlier on. The positive news in terms of the sector itself is there have been no care home closures, so we still have 35 care homes operating across the Vale. Members will be cited that there's a new care home which is being built in Wenvo, and my understanding now is that it's due to open imminently. We've had 8 new providers of domiciliary care who have been added to the approved providers list, with only 2 providers closing, and the reasons for those providers closing are set out within the report. Recruitment and retention into care roles continues to be a real challenge. I would say the market is slightly less fragile than it was this time last year. Many of the providers we've worked with engaged in overseas recruitment, and that's really helped to bolster the workforce and stabilise the market. Another factor I think was the generous increases that were agreed by the council for the previous financial year. And that's really helped us in terms of being able to bring down some of the waiting times for care packages. So on to the key issues for consideration in the report. Has been set out. The fee setting process has been a challenge for the new financial year. The report sets out the fee increases that have been applied, and section 2.4 highlights some of the issues and challenges that providers have raised in relation to those uplifts. The graph at 2.6 highlights the excellent progress that's been made in terms of reducing waiting lists and placing new packages of care. Members will note that the average waiting time for packages has reduced from 22 days to 3. during the year. We're really proud of that sustained change that we've made. I just want to highlight the significant part that Gaynor Jones's leadership has played in terms of that. Gaynor Jones has been our operational manager for commissioning and finance, and she's led on these improvements. Gaynor's leaving us this month, but I think we'd all agree that she's left a real positive legacy in terms of her impact on the service. Our Your Choice model, so that's our model that moves away from offering traditional time and task home care and gives citizens more flexibility in terms of their care packages, continues to receive excellent feedback, from providers and citizens. And during the year, we've continued to increase the number of providers on the scheme to 18. Our aspiration continues to be to move all of our providers onto that scheme. We've got really established forums in place in terms of how we engage with providers and agency. They continue to be really effective forums, and we receive really good feedback from professionals and providers in relation to how we engage. We continue to place citizens at the centre of any future commissioning and our current commissioning. We remain really committed to trying to engage across the piece. The example that we set out in the report is in relation to the recommissioning of domiciliary care services for extra care. The input that we had from those who were in receipt of services made a real impact on that commissioning exercise. Section 3.6 highlights that a new area of work for us. That's in relation to a Section 16 forum that's been set up for the Vale this year. That forum is really focused on engaging with the third sector, so that's third sector providers, charities, social enterprises, and we're really working closely to identify future commissioning opportunities for that area of the sector. The finance section sets out the increase in budget that's been agreed for the community care budget for the current financial year. We're really thankful for the budget increase that was agreed. Even with this increase, I think given the increase in demand that I've set out in this report, this is going to continue to be a really challenging area for us to operate in terms of the budget. So thank you for allowing me to set out the annual update in relation to the ongoing challenges, achievements and demands in relation to commission care services for adults. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Ian. Here we go, I'm on. Thank you, Ian. Another good report on what's going on and the progress that one is making. Does anybody have any questions for Ian, please? Councillor Susan Lloyd-Selby.
Thank you, Chair. Ian, thank you for taking us through that comprehensive report. And clearly there's lots of good news within it. I agree with you. It's really good news that there's been reduced waiting time from 22 days in March 23 to 3 days in March 24 for people to receive care and support at home. That clearly makes a huge difference to families and individuals who are relying on us to deliver that support. So I would just echo your thanks to Gaynor and the team for achieving that. And clearly there are pressures, particularly in terms of the financial situation for some of the providers. So I've got two questions, if I may, Ian. One is for those providers that have indicated some concern about financial sustainability over the next 18 months, what arrangements do we have in place to monitor that so that we get sufficient early warning if there is a real risk of any providers not being able to continue, and how will we mitigate the potential impact of that? And second question, if I may, is I note the report, page 3, section 120, talks about the ongoing programme for recommissioning social care services. And obviously recommissioning can be disruptive, it's time consuming, there's a cost attached to that. So it would be helpful to understand about the process for triggering the recommissioning of services where we've got good quality, value for money services. Are we recommissioning those services, and if so, why? Thank you.
Thank you. I'll certainly pass that feedback on to Gaynor, Councillor Selby. Just in terms of the first question, so in terms of terms of how we monitor the financial stability of the market. So we have quality assurance workers within our commissioning and finance teams that work very closely with the market. We use the provider forums to have general discussions of this nature. And we also offer individual discussions. So Gaynor is very closely engaged with the market, and I myself meet with providers. What we do say to providers is we want them to engage with us at the earliest opportunity if they are starting to have financial challenges. That's really, really important. And we really emphasise that point. The key for us is being able to have that discussion as early as possible. First of all, for us to be able to identify what, if anything, we can do to provide support, what advice we can give to those providers, and what can we do to mitigate that. And we do have conversations of that type with providers from time to time. Sometimes the situation is salvageable. Sometimes it's a little bit more challenge. It's often about how early on we're able to have those conversations. So there are ways that we can support agencies when they're starting to face those challenges. So it's really about having those discussions as early as possible. Just in terms of recommissioning services, so we do have a programme for recommissioning. That calendar is set out a number of years in the future in the case of some services. With all of our tenders, we have the option to increase and extend those contracts. Where contracts are working well, we look to put that in place, which then reduces the demand in terms of having to recommission those services. So we try and have a really structured plan in place in terms of commissioning. It means that the commissioning team are not overwhelmed. When the commissioning and finance teams were restructured within the Social Services Directorate 18 months ago, there were additional resources agreed in terms of additional roles that have gone into that team, and that has made a real impact not only on our ability to be able to commission, but also to be able to undertake some of those quality assurance tasks I was referencing earlier in terms of those relationships with providers.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Sue?
It does. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ian. That's really helpful and very reassuring. Thank you.
Councillor Neil Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Ian, for this. I agree the report is excellent and the progress made is significant and well done. Little alarmed that we're losing Gaynor, because as you said, she's been great and she's done a lot of very strong work. And I'm kind of concerned that about the continuity of her knowledge and experience and contacts don't go with her. Thank you.
Thank you. There's not a lot left for me to say about this particular report. I think it's all been said, but it is a very good report. Thank you very much. Can you also make sure that Gaynor knows how appreciative we have been and are of the work that she's done? 23 days to 3 days is very good. Did you want to come back in, Ian?
No, only to say thank you to both, and I'll relay that to Gaynor.
Thank you. We have before us 5 recommendations on this report. First one is that Scrutiny Committee consider the ongoing challenges and demand for Commission social care services, which I think we do. Councillor Thomas.
Yeah, move that.
Second, thank you. Recommendation 2 is that Scrutiny Committee considers the change in population of the Vale of Glamorgan and the associated increase in demand for care services.
Yeah, we didn't particularly discuss it, but it's clear that we've got an increasing older population quite significantly in comparison with other parts of Wales. But again, I'll move that recommendation.
Yes, thank you. I'll second. Taking us on to recommendation 3, that Scrutiny Committee also considers the availability of Commission services for Vale of Glamorgan residents and the associated increase in expenditure.
Well laid out report. Again, I'll move that.
Okay. Does anybody else want to second? No. Okay, I'll second that as well. Then thank you. Recommendation 4, that Scrutiny Committee considers the improved timelessness of providing home care to residents. The timeliness, yes, I think that...
Again, that was part of the report and a significant part. We have commented on that, so move that.
Yeah, 23 days to 3, thank you. That's marvellous. And recommendation 5, that Scrutiny Committee continues to receive an annual review of Commission services for adults with a care and support need report. I would think with discussion that's going on that would be nice to come back, but it's the length of time. So yearly, anybody in agreement with that?
I think annually is appropriate.
Councillor Thomas.
You have to see the progress. All again, I'll move that.
Okay, Councillor Russell Godfrey.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you. So we move recommendation 5, Councillor Thomas and myself, and that we would like to bring it back annually every year. Thank you, Ian, very, very much. Well done. Taking us on to Lance, agenda item 6. And agenda item 6 is Family Information Service Annual Report 2024.
Okay, thank you for this. It will actually be Becky Wickett, who leads this service, who will be delivering this presentation. So
thank you, Becky.
Hi, yeah, good evening everyone. My name is Becky Wickett. I'm the Social Care Information Coordinator, and part of my remit is to manage the Family Information Service. So I do have a presentation for you today. There we go. Thank you. So I am going to present the annual report for the Family Information Service. So what we've been up to over the last year, and what we actually do, looking at our achievements, some of the challenges we faced, and also our future delivery over this coming year. And then we'll touch on the recommendations. Thank you. So from the report, you'll be able to see what we actually do as a service, but I just thought I would run through it. So our FIS is a one-stop information service for parents, carers and professionals working with children and young people and families. We provide information and guidance on a whole host of things, but mainly childcare and information for parents who've got children starting nursery school, help with childcare costs and everything that comes with that, groups and activities for children and young people, support for families, including services for children with disabilities and additional needs. We also focus on Welsh medium childcare and activities and opportunities. And I don't know if you can see from the graph there, but over the last year, we've responded to almost 1,500 inquiries via a range of methods. So we do have a helpline. We also have an online inquiry form. We get inquiries through our social media, through our website, and we provide an outreach service in the community. So lots of various methods. We maintain a directory of all of these services, which is over 600 services, and they are all held on the Dewis Cymru website, which is a wellbeing website for all of Wales. And this links through to the Childcare Information Wales website. So there's just a small screenshot there at the bottom of the website, and that's particularly aimed at parents and carers, and they can search for the specific information for them. But the actual information is hosted on the Dewis Cymru website. We also maintain web pages on the council website and act as a hub of information for families. And we've got really active social media pages with over 4,500 followers on our Facebook page. We help the local authority meet their duties within the Child Care Act 2006 and also the Social Services and Wellbeing Wales Act to have an IAA service. So we form the information part of the Information Advice and Assistance Service for the Vale. We work closely then with our Families First Advice line and our intake team for children's services. We are funded through Welsh Government to promote the 30-hour childcare offer, which is for working parents and parents in training and education who have children aged 3 to 4 years. We also administer the index for families of children, young people with disabilities or additional needs. That's funded through Families First, also part of Welsh Government, and we've got over 1,000 children signed up to the index. So that's a way of us being able to send out newsletters and e-bulletins, and parents can contact us as well to find out services and support for their children with additional needs. And we support the childcare providers by keeping them informed of funding, training, changes in legislation. We work closely with our childcare and early years team in learning and skills, and we help promote them to parents and carers who contact us. And we help inform the planning of childcare and contribute to the childcare sufficiency assessment. And that photo there was taken a couple of weeks ago during National Childminding Week. The childminders held a picnic in Barry, so we went along to that, and then we ran a bit of a promotion campaign to encourage new childminders really and staff into the childcare sector. So to just kind of bring to life the sort of inquiries that we receive, this is a case study. So of a parent that contacted us for support with their childcare offer application. They were finding it difficult to complete online. They also needed help to find childcare, and they had a child with additional needs. So our officer was able to provide one-to-one support actually in the parent's home to help them complete the application, and it was approved. And they also liaised with local childcare providers to find suitable childcare and also additional support staff to meet the child's needs. They liaised with the Vale's Early Years additional learning needs staff as well to ensure that the child was known to their service and that they could offer support guidance to the childcare provider and also to the school to meet the child's needs. So the outcome was that the child was able to start attending the setting, and they also had additional one-to-one support with through the childcare offer's additional support grant. When the childcare offer funding was due to end, as the child would then be starting nursery school, the school wasn't able to accommodate the child on a full-time basis. So the FIS officer submitted a business case to Welsh Government to request that that funding continued, and it was actually granted, which is really rare, but it was a really good outcome for that family. So the verbal feedback from the parent and the provider was really positive, and that the child has obviously really benefited from the provision and with that additional support as well. So that's just to give a little flavour of how we can support the parents that contact us. So some of our achievements in the last year, we were really pleased that we achieved our Families First Quality Award, which recognises family information services that demonstrate excellence in providing information, advice and assistance to local families. So it was quite a gruelling process, and we had to evidence 16 standards, including how we can support children with disabilities. And it also involved a number of interviews with parents and carers that have used the service, interviews with partners and managers. And that's just some of the feedback that we received from one of the parents that was noted by the assessor. We organised 2 free family Christmas parties that were hosted in Barry Memo. So our outreach officer, Kelly, led on that. And these were really successful with over 700 children, young people, parents, carers being able to attend. And we also had 19 partner agencies that came along, provided activities for free, but also had that chance to engage with families. And we had some performances as well from some dance schools and from our Welsh partner, Mudiad Meithrin. I mentioned the childcare offer for 3 to 4 year olds, which is funded childcare before they start nursery school. And we receive a lot of inquiries about this. So over 600 inquiries supporting parents and childcare providers. We've developed really good links with the colleagues in Flying Start, the 2-year-old offer team. I'm not sure how much you're aware of the 2-year-old offer, which is free childcare for parents who have children aged 2 before they start nursery school. And that's being rolled out across the Vale. So we'll come on to that a bit in a minute, but we've developed some really good links with them. And we've also refined our referral process for children who've got additional needs to be able to support them to access the additional support grant. So we've been promoting that as well. Our index is for families of children with disabilities or additional needs. It's a voluntary register, and we've registered over 153 children in the last year. It means that they'll then receive our regular information with newsletters and e-bulletins. We've linked really well with Cardiff and Vale UHB, the neurodevelopmental service. So they've been running a series of community connector sessions with parents and carers whose children are on the actual waiting list to have an assessment, a neurodevelopmental assessment. Various partners have been attending those, and we've been going as part of the index, and it's been really valuable for us. The majority of parents hadn't heard of the index, so we've been able to sign them up so that they can receive information about support and services. We've been working closely as well with the additional learning needs team and really trying to engage with the ALNCOs. So a few challenges over the last year. The childcare offer for 3 to 4 year olds, Welsh Government pay an hourly fee to the childcare providers, and that fee has been the same now for a few years. And with the increasing costs of childcare, for a lot of providers, it doesn't actually cover their daily fees. So they've had to pass that cost over to parents, which can result in a bit of a breakdown between parents and providers. And as a family information service, that can affect us. And we've been trying to support that relationship. The good news is that Welsh Government are carrying out a review now this year. So that'll hopefully increase now next year. As I've mentioned, the implementation of the Flying Start 2-year-old offer obviously sounds very similar to the 3 to 4-year-old offer, and it can be confusing for parents. So we've had lots of inquiries from parents regarding that. And we've been working, like I said, really closely with the Flying Start team to improve the information that's on the website, to make sure that we're all clear on the different eligibility. And going forward now, we've got a clear plan in place where the Flying Start team will be able to let the parents whose children are on the 2-year-old offer know about the 3 to 4-year-old offer. Just to say as well, the 3 to 4-year-old offer is an eligibility criteria, so parents need to be in work or training. So that's what the difference is. But obviously for parents, it can be confusing. And an ongoing challenge for us is obviously we have 600 services. So we need to keep the information up to date, and that's also growing. Every 6 months, the information needs to be reviewed. So providers can update that themselves, but that's always a challenge. So we quite often will do that for them, but obviously that takes quite a lot of resources. So looking at this next year, what we're hoping to concentrate on is promoting the expansion of the childcare offer. So that's for parents in training and education. So working with Cardiff and Vale College and our further education providers to really promote that to students. We're working with our childcare providers and giving them information packs so they can pass on to new families. So in there is lots of information about the different sorts of help with childcare costs, what the options are, starting nursery school, and also the booklet on being bilingual. As I've said, we're working with our Flying Start 2-year-old offer team to embed a transition process. We're really reviewing our web pages for FIS and the index to act as a hub of information. I've also touched on it, but we're working with our childcare and early years team to really support the promotion of childcare as a career over the next year. And we've got a promotion campaign that's running at the moment. Our index officer is creating some new resources for families of children with disabilities, one of which is the education journey from a child with additional needs, starting nursery school, starting primary school, the different options that are available to them. And we're also looking to really improve the quality of the information on services on the Dewis Cymru website, including what activities are available for children with disabilities, so to try and help parents rather than just ring in everyone, the information will be more accurate, and we'll be able to say if staff have had training, if they're part of any schemes, what they can offer children with disabilities. And the same with Welsh medium childcare and flexible childcare, again, to be able to help parents access that information really quickly. So our recommendations are that the committee considers this annual report and the work undertaken. We have been bringing this information and presenting every year now for a while. So we're recommending that we would change this now to every 2 years due to the stability really of the service. So we're bringing that to you today.
Thank you very much, Becky. It is a good report, and it does tell us the progress that you've been making. The only thing I was concerned about, because I mean the report generally describes the working of the Family Information Service and compares the challenges of running 30-hour childcare together with the Flying Start 2-year-old, which I'm afraid could cause confusion. That's all. That's the only thing in the report that I could pick up, because all the answers are in there, I'm pleased to say, and it is very good. So I just wanted to flag that up, really. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, Councillor Susan Lloyd-Selby.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Becky, for taking us through it, and congratulations on the work that's been done. Particularly, I note the achievement of the Families First Quality Award this year. So well done for that, and please pass on our thanks to the team and all involved in achieving that. So 2 questions from me. One is, it's good to hear that Welsh Government are currently reviewing the hourly rate for childminders, because obviously, as the report makes clear, that is putting some pressure on parents financially. Have we also fed back to them the confusion that's been created for parents in relation to the way the 2 schemes are currently being run? And while I would broadly support the recommendation to bring the report back every 2 years, I am concerned about the financial pressure that parents are currently experiencing because of the hourly rate and the costs that are being passed on to them. So if we're not getting another report for 2 years, how can this committee be assured that that issue is being addressed? So 2 things. One, are we feeding back to Welsh Government some of the challenges that you're experiencing as a result of parents being confused about entitlement to the 2 schemes? And 2, if we don't receive another report for 2 years, can we still get an update about the outcome of Welsh Government's consideration of the hourly rate so that we can be assured about the pressure on parents being mitigated? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we have reported back to Welsh Government about the confusion. The 2 schemes sit within 2 separate sections of Welsh Government, so that causes difficulties. But I think they have taken it on board. But we're waiting for further information from them. We don't actually know yet when it's being rolled out as a phased approach. So we don't actually know when the 2-year-old offer is going to be throughout the Vale. So, yeah, we are waiting for further information from them, but they do realise that there is confusion, and that's across Wales, obviously not just for the Vale. And the second point, yeah, I mean, I can still provide an annual report, or I could provide an update on the hourly rate and the changes that have been made following the consultation. They're hoping that this will be in place next April, I believe. So I can provide that information.
Chair, if I may, I don't want to unduly burden you, so I'm not asking for an annual report, a comprehensive annual report. Just, is there any way for this committee to receive an update on that specific issue. It might be that we receive that as information, for example, via email, and then if committee has any questions, we could perhaps ask for an additional report or call that issue in. But I personally would be satisfied just with an update on email if that's easier and if committee agrees. Thank you.
I think that's the way to do it. You happy with that? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? I was going to congratulate you on your awards, and please take that back as well from the rest of the committee. Which moves us to the recommendations that Scrutiny Committee considers the annual report of the Vale Family Information Service and the work undertaken to support parents, carers and providers in the Vale of Glamorgan. Have a mover, please.
Yeah, I think we've done both, so I'll move both.
Thank you. So is everybody happy with the new second recommendation? Yeah, that we do it the other way? Yeah. Okay, thank you all very much.
Chair, can we just confirm that the third recommendation then that we have the email and we send it out to all the officers all the members when that's received and we've got more detail?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you. I'd just like to remind everybody that the next committee meeting is the 9th of July. We do have a working group, we do have a working group committee on the 29th of July. If you do have any questions beforehand, we need to have them in. And if anybody, we have called in these today, these presentations, but if anybody else on the committee would like us to bring anything in specific to this committee for a report, then please let us know. Other than that, have a good week. Thank you all very much. And Councillor Russell Godfrey would like to come in.
Yeah, if I could, Chair, just something I wanted to mention. I did speak to Lance previously about it, and he said I need to go to the health board. We're getting an ever-increasing issue in the Wenvo area with regards to GP surgeries. All the neighbouring areas, because obviously we don't have our own GP surgery.
Yeah.
The neighbouring areas of Dinas Powys, Barry and Cardiff West, they're all reducing their boundaries all the time.
Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm afraid, Russell, that is a health board matter and not a Vale of Glamorgan matter. Can you confirm that with me, Lance, please? Yeah.
Does it not come in under social care to a degree, no?
We have no influence whatsoever, I don't think. Is that right, Lance?
I can make a request, but that's all I can do in much the same way as a resident can. So I don't think I've got any power to make anything happen.
Yes. So
well, all I was asking if it could just be highlighted the concern, because I think the more pressure that's put on, the better, you know.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Godfrey. On that, thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening if you can, if you've got no more meetings to attend, and see you all soon.